let's go for the third round. Hi, Shell.
I shall.
We have a special guest today, Marius Sinn, Krautkind in German. And we are going to talk about the name very, very soon. But first of all, yeah, we want to dive in the question, how are you today? How are you, Shell? What's going on at yours?
Well, it's after 9 o'clock at night here in New Zealand. It's pitch black, but yet I still have the sun in my Zoom room.
That's the most
And
important.
yeah, and really happy to be here tonight with you and Marius. It's been over a year since we first met, foraging away, so I'm really excited that you're here tonight.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Shell. Glad to see you again. I think there is 1 year past, and here we have 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's quite a very rainy weather. Yesterday was especially very cold and rainy, but the spring is on the way, so it is not stoppable anymore. So I'm very glad that the spring will be soon here.
There have been a few days last week where you could almost smell the energy of spring already. But yesterday we had, I don't know what it was. It was a huge noise, a storm with hail falling down, very short. And then it stopped suddenly, just from 1 minute to the other. There was nothing anymore. And that was quite strange. But I miss actually the hikes in the forest at the moment because it's raining a lot. And I can't wait to have the spring back. But there are already tiny little flowers sprouting there in front of my door. And that's what we are going to talk about today, flowers, wild plants. And also, Marius, I remember that you told me that you want to say also something about unknown plants.
Yeah, so let's talk about wild plants, or let's talk about the notion of weeds. Why do we call other plants weeds? It is because we are used to have some culture plants like potatoes or tomatoes or others, like the VIP plants, like the 100 well-known plants all over the world. But all the other plants still growing free and wild in the nature, they are not welcome in our garden because they take place and they take resources from our tomatoes and so on. And that's why we call them weeds, bad weeds. So, but the truth is that even if they are not so well known everywhere, the most of them are edible plants, so you can eat them, and they are very nutritious, and they do not need a lot of attention and a lot of work, a lot of water, so they are just growing wild in the nature like the weeds. And that is the concept with the not so well known plants, with the unknown plants. It is like you have like some hundreds here in these regions, and some kilometers away you will have 20, 30 more other species, and so on. So you will have like thousands of species of edible plants in Central and West Europe that we do not know about. They are just some green weeds. It's everything that the most people know about them. So the question to you and to all is, why should we not have the weeds in our garden? So to give them a place at the border of the garden or in some certain areas of the garden. Why not? And why not to eat them? Because yes, because they are very nutritious. And like, I give you an example. If you eat a potato, then you will get some minerals and you will get some vitamins. And then if you eat like oat, you will get other minerals and other potatoes and other proteins and other enzymes. So imagine you have like hundreds of species of edible wild plants in your garden. What 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 an amazing idea that you could eat all these other 100 species every day, in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. Like, always there are some species growing in the garden, and they do not need work, they do not need too much water and taking care. So why not? That's the question. Do you have in your garden wild plants? Did you start to identify them, to try them, to taste them, to cook with them?
To identify and to taste them and to cook them, that's a great point, because if you are like me, in the beginning, I didn't know much about that topic. I knew the dandelion, the nettle, and the chickweed. I
Chickweed,
don't know the
yes.
exact names in English of all the plants. And now my knowledge has grown because I got to know you, and I was watching what you are doing, how you are treating the plants and everything. And now I know like almost 12 or 15 plants, different plants which grow in my garden, which I can use. And what I also do when they are there, I take them, I put them onto salads and everything. And you don't need much of the plants. It's like enough if you go out for a walk to the forest, you just pick a piece there and a piece there, and you just put it in your mouth freshly as it comes, which gives you the most energy.
Yes. How about you, Shell? How is in New Zealand? That's a
Yeah.
very unknown country and region for me. But it looks like a very green country. So
Yeah, we have a very green country, and we have a lot of weeds, and but I think it's very much about, as an individual, what do you want to tune into and do with your garden. For example, I was very lucky to have an organic large garden with the house I bought, which is very unusual. And so there were actually over 30 different weed species in the garden. So was quite fortunate. And we have a foraging guy, a weed man, who takes you into the public gardens and shows you what you might not know. Like, I didn't know about plantain and how useful it was. And also, I was saying to Michelle before you arrived, we have an ice plant, which is native, which you can eat on the coast, by the sea. But unless someone takes you, like yourself, on a guided tour, or you research, I don't think it's easy to necessarily know. And then there are probably, for many people, concerns about safety, that
yeah,
if you take a weed, you might poison yourself, for example.
yes,
So
that's true.
I think it's something in New Zealand that is developing, and very much there's a few restaurants charging a lot of money for weed food.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, that's true. Starting it was also for me, mm, like not so easy, as I started to go into the forest or to go on the fields and foraging wild plants. I discovered a lot of fears that I had in my body, in my mind, like fears for ticks, fears for worms, fears for uh, so for very similar looking poison plants. So I had a lot of fears when I started like 15 years ago with this topic. And uh, for the begin, it's good to participate to to hikes with to guided hikes and to forage together with professional people, experienced people. That's very important. Then, in the meantime, we have a lot of very, very good books for identifying the local, the regional weeds. And in the last 5 years, we got so good apps, so application that you can install on your phone, and they are so good. So I will never suggest to start with that, to start first with the apps. But after some months, years of experience with identifying the plants, with the book, and in the Facebook groups and with professionals, then it is possible. After having an overview about the families and about the species of the plants, and especially having the overview about um, the toxic plants, then it is so cool and easy to work with the identifying apps, plant apps like PlantNet, for example, or Flora Incognita. So it is possible to get from zero knowledge, um, and to get a professional after some years for everyone. So it is like just identifying and practicing, and then to a point, then I've started to eat them also, because I'm also confident, because plants are repeating everywhere. So you see them, you don't really need to know all the names. You can give your own names. It is important to identify them very exactly, to take a look to each species, uh, and to identify the leaves, the stem, the flowers, the border of the leaves, so in details.
Someone once told me that it's better to learn the toxic plants, to identify the toxic plants, so you get no risk anymore to be confused afterwards, which is quite funny. But a diverse and tasty range of wild herbs, they detoxify and stimulate the body, as we know. And our ancestors, they knew this very well, and they used wild herbs frequently, actually. But over the years, this habit has completely changed. And perhaps, well, because we have learned to always eat the same foods, as you told before. And nowadays, about 30 plants cover 95% of the world's food supply. And by eating wild herbs, we increase the range of important elements and other beneficial substances, what we take
Mhm.
into with our food, allowing us to rediscover as well the old flavors, which are surprisingly tasty. And I know, Marius, you're a bit of a gourmet too, and that's perfect because you cook a lot with wild plants, and you also show people how to use them to cook up delicious salads, soups, and more. Your images of the salad are amazing. It's a variety and it's flavored. It's enriches your kitchen with unique flavors. Actually, some of the herbs, they are so tasty that it gives a complete different perspective to the plate afterward.
Yes, like new flavors. So, and talking about our ancestors. So I just want to give you an example. So imagine now it is February, and the year before was not so good. So there are just some potatoes and some grain left, and the family is big, like 3, 4, 5 children, and so on. So the man was on the fields and or in the forest making wood and so on. But the woman, she was the person going out, and starting now with February, because now the spring starts right now. So um, the woman was outside and was searching for wild food to compensate the missing potatoes or the missing grains for the family. So this was like lifesavers, hundreds of years in Europe. And we forgot all this. And now there is a trend that the people would like to know more about diversity in the garden, like keywords like permaculture, forest gardening, wild plants gardening, and they are now like trend keywords. So there is something happening um, in yes in Europe, and I think everywhere. So I see on Facebook, on Instagram, there is a trend. The interest for unknown wild plants, edible wild plants or mushrooms, is getting higher, getting bigger. So I'm happy. 15 years ago, when I've started with this, there were just some people talking about or doing the same like I did. And people were, "What? You are eating weeds? Are you crazy?" So I had reactions like that. So now, 15 years after, it's really different. I find a lot of people with interest and more open for the topic, to discover this topic. So it is like amazing. So we have just to stay on the topic. Of course, this is not a solution. The nature, it's not. We have just some small parts of nature. We have a lot of agriculture. We have forests, but they are not really forests. So they are also industrial forests, and we have industrial agriculture. So there is just a small place for the nature still left. And of course, this is not enough. So if tomorrow all the millions and millions of people want to eat from the nature, we will destroy it. So in some days, because there is not enough for everyone. But what about of bringing the nature in the own garden? So making place for the bad weeds in the own garden. What about that?
When we observe the farmers protests these days, who now go out onto the streets to actually go back afterwards to their old habits, I ask myself whether there shouldn't be maybe a shift in thinking, starting with all the seeds. For example, Monsanto says hi, and the stuff that is sprayed on it, as you said, huge industrial cultivation with huge machines that has nothing to do with healthy growing anymore. And as far as I know, monoculture is not really sustainable. And the trend is towards permaculture, actually, where the wild plants also fit in. So people are beginning to take responsibility, as you also said, and they no longer want to rely on the system. They are building their own gardens. They are forming networks and societies helping each other, which is great, actually. And even woofing, if you didn't heard about that subject before, that's quite interesting. And I believe that's the future as well.
Yes, that's true. So permaculture and diversity in the own garden. I think also that this is the future. That the people are now much more open for this topic, and they really try. So I'm organizing like foraging hikes in the center, in the nature, in the center of the protection of the nature in Luxembourg. And there are coming people that they forage for the first time, and then we would go in on the fields and in the forest, and we would forage like plants that we know we can take from them because they will grow and grow and grow. So they are perennials, and you can cut them completely down more times in a year. They will come back and come back and come back. So they are like just almost indestructible. So they will forage and they will eat, and they will have like a big experience of telling me all the time, oh, this is so tasty. I never knew about this.
Yeah.
So I was ashamed of thinking eating weeds or having them in my garden, or so it's incredible. So they the people are discovering that the weeds actually are just plants, like mice and like potatoes, like oat and like all the others that we know from the supermarket. That the difference is that they are not so popular, so the industry didn't discover them yet. So that's the difference, but they are there. They are edible. They bring new minerals, and they bring new enzymes and new proteins. So they bring so new molecules that they are good for the body, for our body. Our body is waiting for them.
I love what you say. It's so good to hear that. And I think the diversity you talk about and bringing it into the home garden is, I haven't seen so much of people talking about that. Like, people might have tried to be organic with their garden, but with potatoes and tomatoes and those sorts of crops, but not so much with the weeds. But I think that's a little bit of like just not a little bit, some education and the confidence to learn, like you say you did. But I have one curious question, Marius, which you may or may not be able to answer. But if a home garden has been sprayed with glyphosate, for example, and the weeds still come, how long may it be before those weeds are safe to eat? Do you have any idea? Is it a couple of years or only
So
1 year, or don't know? Yeah.
So normally, if I do not have now, always when I'm talking about law and about norms, I'm based with the German law. I know, or I used to know, I'm not sure how it is right now, but normally a field, you can declare it as an organic field after 5 years
Okay.
of not using pesticides and other chemicals.
Okay.
There are
That's
also, but
possibly the
also
same.
other plants. So you have a lot of plants depending on the chemical pollution. You have plants, on mushrooms that they can absorb the unwished molecules quickly, and then you will pick them out and you will throw them away, and like that you are able to clean quicker the field. Even
Okay.
if you have radioactivity or if you have like heavy metals. So if you know the toxic molecules on the field, then you have plants specialized for these molecules, then you would grow them for 1 2 years, and then the surface is clean.
Wow.
You can just let them grow, pick them out and throw them away.
Thank you. That's amazing to know. Mm.
The knowledge of Marius is actually amazing. Really, I admire your knowledge, and also to answer something you said before, the industry didn't discover the wild plants yet. I would not be so sure about that because I discovered last year in our supermarket here pots with wild garlic for like 2 or 3 euros to plant in your garden, which is actually good on one side, so the people put it in the garden, but you can like go to the forest and pick your own and connect with nature, because there's more behind than just consuming a plant, putting it in your soup and eat it. But the connection with nature, I think that's the most important thing in the beginning. Also to know how to behave in nature and not going out with boxes and pick like huge amount of food and destroy the nature with that. So there are certain things that some people should observe before going foraging.
Yes, that's true. So normally we will forage from the nature in Germany and in Luxembourg also, just what you can carry with your both two hands, so without bags. So that's the law. And of course, buying from the supermarket mm, some grams of wild plants. So wild plants, there know that they are not so that they do not they cannot conservate too long. So they will put some gas in the bags, in the plastic gas, for conservation. So yes, then it's everything a little bit relative, the value of the wild plants. And what I really suggest to do is, when you're in the forest, when you're on the fields, and you start to know the plants and their habitats, to take some seeds and to give them a new place, a new space for growing in your garden. So this is my idea, to get the nature back on you in your garden. Like that you will have it always with you, like they are growing. And there are some species, they are so invasive. If you have like 10 species, it's enough. If you have like the nettle, and if you have like um the dandelion and the chickweed and the ground elder, so or plantain or yarrow and so on.
Wild carrot.
Yes, the wild carrot, also the wild garlic. They're all super invasive. So if you have them once in your garden, you will have them forever. You will need like a lot of work to get them back out from your garden. So the neighbors, they will be maybe happy or unhappy, because they will not just stay in your garden. They will go over the fence and in the neighborhood also. So Why not?
There are
That's my
solutions.
question always. I always ask the people, why not to bring back the nature into your garden, to let them to give them space to grow, to live there at your place. Why not? Why should we put now a lot of stones, like the trend is to have gardens in the front of the house just with stones? So it's incredible. We have a lot of beton. We have a lot of stones everywhere.
Mhm.
Why not invasive plants? Let them grow. Why we need this grass, like this English
I'm
why?
really excited. I'm like, I want to be a weed activist now and
Yes.
go and throw seeds at the posh concrete stone houses.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, in the stones there are also often such a yin yang sign to show people how integrate we are with nature. It's quite funny. No, but also there are solutions, because if the neighbor starts to get angry, maybe you should invite him onto a super salad and a soup with
Yes,
wild plants, so he gets to
educate.
know
Oh, the
he gets to
cheese.
know the taste.
That weed cheese that you made,
Oh yes.
Marius. That was
I am doing since I made my blood test, and my cholesterol and my triglyceride values are a little bit high. Actually, they were never so high, and now I've started a cure. Let's see how long I will do this, but I want to eat now like a diet, like wild plants, oat, nuts, oils, vegetables, and some fruits, not so much. So I would like to go with this for the next couple weeks, and let's see how this will change my blood values.
mm,
And now is February, and as I told you, the spring is coming. It is not stoppable anymore. So we will have everywhere small but bigger and bigger leaves. Even the wild garlic, it is now like 4 or 5 centimeters big. So the spring is almost there.
mm. And may I ask you, Marius, do you actually have a favorite season?
Yes, my favorite season is the winter because 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 this is still a challenge for me. In the winter, do you not have the flowers? Do you have totally different leaves even? So for me, it's still a challenge. There are still some plants, some species that I have to to discover more in the winter. And in the winter, you have the roots. I do not destroy the plant, so I forage just the roots from the last mound. So I cut the roots, and the top of the roots I will put it back in the earth. So you can even forage roots like wild carrots and other plants with that they are building roots in the winter for the next season. But you do not have to destroy the plants. You can take them carefully out, cut the root, grow in the last months, and then if you left like at least 3 centimeters of the top of the roots, and then you put it back in the earth, the plant will grow for sure. So you
Wow.
even yes. So like also with small plants, each plant needs like 10, 20, 30 centimeters, and in the winter you have like hundreds, like all the seeds are now open and you have hundreds on a very small surface. So it is also a work for the nature, like making a little bit place for the best looking exemplars. So for the best looking uh, plants from the group there. That's also I take that also like a work for the nature, helping the nature, like the animals also are doing. And I also take always seeds. So seeds I have always in my pockets. I have always seeds. So and then I will put them at the other place when I know, because I know the habitat, I know the plants. Okay, you will need that soil and you will need that um, company, so plants company,
The
and that
companion, yeah.
companion. I will put them there. I will put them there, and also always in my garden. So sometimes it takes like years. I even forgot. So and then it will grow, and I think, oh my God, what is this? And then I remember, oh, was that plantain species from Pyrenees mountains that I took with me 4 years ago. So it is, yes, it is something very nice to experience with.
Mm.
I would love to soak in more knowledge, and I would love to know how you fit after your core. You've done so. We probably have to invite you back, Marius, to get to know all about this. But I think we have to come to an end for today. So maybe a last word of all the three of us. For example, look forward to a garden full of life, full of color and flavor as well. Start growing your own edible wild plants now and discover all the gifts that nature has in store for us. So spread not only love, but spread also seeds.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to be a weed activist now. I'm going to throw seeds everywhere.
Yes, yes, please do that. So like you will do this, you are doing this. I think you got even seeds in your shoes from my garden, from Zandweiler, from the Grengo Spaghetti garden.
Yes.
So I for sure you have some seeds in your shoes now in your garden growing some plants
Yeah.
from my garden. So the
Don't
animals
tell
are
the border
doing this
people.
every day. So the most of the plants they need someone to propagate them. It is not always the wind, it is not always the water. In the most of the cases are animals doing this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Insects and big animals also, and we are big animals, and we can do this, we can do this um, like with intention. So we can do it even thousand times better as the animals, because we have the knowledge. We know, okay, they need that soil, they need that so much sun, they need forest, they need shadow, they need more water, they need to be at the border to the river, and so on. So we can do this very effectively
Yeah.
Mm,
to propagate them.
mm. Wow. Thank you so, so much, Marius. This has been amazing. It's so good to see you again and just have your knowledge beaming out to people who are going to be watching this in all sorts of little countries. So thanks. It's really neat.
So let give me a last word. Try to learn about 7 weeds. Yes, the best the best ones are the weeds growing now in your garden, because they are adapted to the soil from your garden, of the region, and so on. And then you do not need to be a very good cook. Just take them, wash them always, cut them, put them in the water for 10 minutes, and then drink that water. Or take them, cut them, put them in the mixer, put some oil, put some pepper, put some salt, and then you will have a pesto, and then put it on your bread and eat them. Or just take the leaves, put some oil, put some vinegar, some salt and pepper, and you will have a salad. So you do not really need to be a cook, a 5-star cook. Just you have just to start, and then you will discover, oh my god, it is so delicious, so easy, and it is always there. It is like if you, for example, if you have wild garlic in the garden, it will get every year more and more and more. So it is an invasive weed. So the name it's the name it's, how to say, it's okay. Or if you have the ground elder, the same. So it's so invasive. You have it in your garden, then it is like with celery. I don't know. Do you it is celery the same in English? Celery?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yes. So the ground elder, it's actually the wild celery.
Hmm.
So you have it in your garden, you will have it for always. You will have that taste and the same molecules and the same content like in the celery.
And
So
white
I would,
garlic pesto is the best in the world.
oh, yes, it's now I wait still 2 weeks and then I will start it.
Okay, thank you so much, Marius. Beautiful wildflower, Marius. I like wildflowers best because they just grow wherever they want and no one has to plant them. They grow by itself. Their seeds are blown in the wind so they can find a new place to grow. And I think we should like take this for ourselves as well. So thank you very much for today. We are going to link Trautkind down here under the video so you can have a look at Marius' projects. Thank you so much, and thank you, Shell. Thank you, Marius.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.